We are still with Jess, who will answer us a few questions about London right now. So we will just directly jump into it. And my first question is, what makes London a great place to live and start a new venture?
Sure, I think a lot of what London has to offer comes down to access. So you've got access to potential clients that a lot of people are trying to sell to, or potential partners. You've also got access to talent. There's a lot of people here that want to work in startups that have a varied mix of skills, whether it's developers, business, marketing, sales. So there's always new people to hire and more people that have experience in the startup community. You know, affordable rent is probably not the first thing I would say as an advantage here, but you can find places to live, and if you're creative, not spend all your money on housing. And it just has a really vibrant community. Like I like the vibe. People are friendly, welcoming. It's easy to get involved. There's a lot of other things that make London great, but let's be honest, people that are in startups are not going to have time to enjoy all of what London has to offer. So those are some of the highlights. As Techstars, we've got a very big London presence. We actually have 3 programs now here. We've got Techstars London, which is our general program open to startups across any industry. That's been running here for a couple years now. We've got the FinTech program that I work on, Barclays Accelerator. It's been here 2 years, and a new program with Liberty Global, basically Virgin Media, that Richard Branson will be involved in, at least to some extent, also here in London. So we've got a big presence. It's a big Techstars family for London now, so I'm excited.
Nowadays, many entrepreneurs move to start or open their businesses outside their own countries. So why to start in London instead of other, let's say, European startup hotspots or even US Silicon Valley?
When I see companies coming here, and I'm not here to say London is the right solution for everyone, I'm sure it's not, but the startups that I do see relocating, often coming for access to markets, whether that's B2B and they want to be closer to the businesses they're trying to sell to, or whether it's B2C and they want to get the word out and get a lot of users quickly. That's often a big driver. Access to investors as well. There's so many angels and VC funds here in London, and the proximity to be able to build those relationships. Even when the funds are willing to invest in companies other places, it can be easier to build a relationship if you're here on their doorstep. I think those are probably a couple of the main drivers. You know, being able to hire good people here as well, but I know there's a lot of places in Europe that are good for hiring. So,
and what is London missing? Maybe you said the rent could be too expensive, or some disadvantages.
It would be nice if rent were cheaper. I think people talk about Berlin a lot in terms of being more affordable from a cost of living point of view, and I can't argue with that. It's probably true. Sunshine would be great, but at the same time, I think we got a lot of work done because we're not that tempted to go outdoors. But at the same time, the weather's not as bad as everybody says. So as a Californian here, I really don't suffer winter blues. Try Chicago. Then you won't mind it here.
So what is the main reason why it all emerged here? London is the 6th best startup ecosystem in the world.
6th?
Yes.
Come on.
I think 6. I think 6. According to, not sure right now where. But yeah, first European.
To be honest, I don't know. I think there were some early companies that were growing quite large here. You know, story goes that many of them were based around Old Street Roundabout, called Silicon Roundabout now, as being the early heart of the startup community. Nowadays, things have expanded, and yes, that's still like a huge area for startups, but everything's been moving even more east. We're in Whitechapel now, which is very much East London. Shoreditch is another neighborhood, like right around Old Street Silicon Roundabout area that's very hipster and very startup. So over time, what's considered the center of the community is becoming kind of a 2-mile radius. It's no longer such a specifically concentrated group of companies.
Can you name the best industries or startups which are thriving now in London? It would definitely be fintech, as we are
fintech's
in the
on there.
financial sense of the word.
I think in its own right, fintech is there, but also I'm biased. I think you'll see a lot of consumer plays. I've lost touch a little bit, but so much B2C in terms of consumer entertainment, all sorts of apps that are just trying to make people's lives better in some way. You'll also see a lot of business enterprise software of all kinds and people trying to sell into the number of different strong businesses here in London. I think you'll see a lot around marketing and advertising, mad tech, quite big here in London too, and especially with all the marketing and ad agencies. That makes sense. I honestly don't know what I'm missing. I'm sure I'm missing things.
I think you covered pretty many things, so
okay. I hope
fine.
the other industries don't shoot me. I'm really sorry I forgot.
And do you know, are there any incentives from London or maybe government that help to support new startups?
Yes. So the government has been very proactive at trying to incentivize people and make it beneficial for startups to be located here. So you'll hear of things like SEIS and EIS funding, which basically reduces the risk for angel investors putting money into startups in early stages. It de-risks their investment so that it's more tempting and limits the downside if that investment were to go bad. That's definitely one thing that kind of frees up and motivates a bit more capital at those early stages. Through London and Partners and through UK Trade and Investment, there's also just a lot of people that are helpful, that are, strong community agents, and Tech City as well as an organization, helping startups answer questions around their moves here to London, helping people find office space, and just helping bring the community together. They're not the only ones, but there's a lot of people helping bring the community together so that resources can find each other, which is, really helpful for a community that has so much available, but really needs people willing to put in that work of organizing events, organizing information online, helping facilitate introductions, so that it's not so scary for a new person jumping in, that they can navigate it and find their own home here too.
You talked about great networking or the vibe of the city.
Yeah.
So you can definitely meet a lot of people. Where to go, where to search, and maybe can you name some of the best events that every startup have to attend? Okay,
let's see. So for startups finding office space, a lot of the early ones look at Central Working and Tech Hub, and now WeWork as well as easy places to jump in and grab co-working space without too much hassle. They're all great. I don't really think you can go wrong in London. In terms of events, my gosh, I used to go to so many events. I was an addict. Nowadays, Silicon Milk Roundabout is still where companies go when they want to hire, or where new talent goes when they're trying to find startups to join. Monthly meetup, I've completely forgotten the name. Oh man, this is worth mentioning. Hacker News.
Hacker News.
All right, monthly meetup, Hacker News. I used to go to, I'm sure it's still well attended, and they bring in fantastic speakers. Startup Grind brings in cool speakers from all over. There are honestly just so many events. Here, just in our building, in this kind of Rise building in Whitechapel, there's an event, at least one, every single night in the main auditorium here. And so I honestly think also not just going to the main events that are known and regularly attended. In the fintech space, New Finance meetup is fantastic, and really like the way those are organized here. There's also a group in Silicon Valley, actually. But in addition to the regular events people are a part of, I just think keeping your eyes open to kind of one-off events that you want to jump into that maybe aren't organized by people you know. There's so many. You have to be selective, but I wouldn't get stuck on just having a certain routine. I'd keep my eyes open and jump into other things along the way.
I will ask now a bit about Silicon Valley.
Sure.
How does these words resonate here in London?
So I think there used to be this like Silicon Valley mecca where startups go to get funding, like Wizard of Oz style mecca. And people would say, oh, if only I were in the Valley, you know, somebody would have handed me a check for $10 million walking down the street. It's so easy to raise money there. You know, these myths that people perceive when they're far away. Now I actually feel like people are aspiring to be here in London, and this is their goal and this is their end game. And there's more investment available here than there used to be. And there's an appreciation that London is a great place for expanding across Europe and tapping a lot of the markets here, especially if people feel like they already have a competitor that's tackling the US quite well, and that they're going to keep their foothold and really build up their territory here. So I feel, of course I'm biased, like people view London as a great place for expanding globally. People view Silicon Valley as a great place for tackling the market in the US and raising money from American funds. I also think more American investors are becoming more global in their view. And while investors will always prefer to have this startup within reach, I think American investors now often feel like they're missing out if they're not paying attention and getting on a plane and getting their butts over here. So I'm seeing a lot more people have international travel in their investment plans in order to get in on European deals.
But if a London startup decides to go to the US, Silicon Valley, why? What is the key motivator? Is fundraising or opening new market?
I think it's exactly that. It was hard for me to speak on behalf of all of them, but usually it's either because they're really drawn toward investors that are in the Valley, or they really want to dominate the market in the US, which is fine. And yeah, often either the Valley or New York gets talked about a lot too. For the fintech companies, it's probably more often New York that we see them moving to. For the B2C and other types of non-fintech companies, yeah, maybe they've got their eyes on the Valley more. New York's got a lot to say for itself now, so it's funny that both sides of the US have really strong communities nowadays. They can fight it out with Boston, and you know, as Texans, we've got a lot of offices. We try to appreciate, you know, we don't have the belief that a company needs to be in the Valley to be successful. Okay. Which is why we actually don't even have an office in Silicon Valley. We've got offices in Seattle, Boulder, Boston, New York, Kansas City, Detroit, Austin, Texas, San Antonio, and I could go on and on, but
it's just a very interesting model, but it works.
LA, yes.
So, yeah. That was the niche, maybe. Everybody was aspiring for Silicon Valley, and this works too. Perfect. I've run out of my questions.
Okay.
Thank you very much. That was very interesting. I wish you good luck with the whole program, especially for next week, welcoming all the new companies.
Thank you for coming and taking the time to be here. I promise it will never be this quiet again.
Yeah, but it's good for you, I guess. Thank you very much.
Great. Enjoy London.
Thank you.